Commander Laura Mills stood at the observation deck of the UES Nightingale, her eyes fixed on the strange darkness ahead. It wasn't the usual darkness of space. This was different. This darkness seemed to swallow the stars themselves. "Commander, all systems are showing strange readings," Robert Hayes called from his station. The quantum physicist's usually calm voice carried an edge of excitement. "I've never seen anything like this." Laura turned away from the window, her short brown hair catching the soft blue light of the ship's interior. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a cascade of data. Even to Laura's experienced eyes, the numbers made little sense. Energy readings jumped from 0 to infinity, and back again. Space-time itself seemed to bend around the phenomenon they'd discovered. "Should we alert Earth Space Command?" Anna Clark, the ship's xenobiologist, asked. She'd been quiet since they'd first detected the anomaly 3 days ago. The discovery had pulled their research mission away from its original course, leading them to this unexplored sector of space. "Not yet," Laura decided. "Let's gather more data first. We don't want to cause panic over what might be nothing." But it wasn't nothing. They all knew it. The Centaurians had warned them about this region of space. Their ambassador had practically begged humanity to avoid it. "There are things in the universe that should remain undisturbed," he'd said, but humanity had never been good at leaving things alone. The UES Nightingale was humanity's most advanced research vessel, designed specifically for investigating cosmic anomalies. Its crew of 30 was handpicked from Earth's finest scientists and space explorers. They were supposed to be studying quantum fluctuations in nearby star systems. Instead, they'd found this. "Energy patterns are shifting again," Robert announced, his fingers dancing across his holographic controls. "The void, or whatever it is, seems to be reacting to our presence." Laura leaned over his shoulder, studying the readings. "What do you mean, reacting?" "Look at these wavelengths." Robert highlighted a series of patterns. "They change every time we adjust our position. It's like it's watching us." Anna moved closer to the window, her reflection pale against the darkness beyond. "That's impossible. A spatial anomaly can't watch anything. It's not sentient. 300 years ago, we thought faster-than-light travel was impossible," Laura reminded her. "We thought we were alone in the universe. Everything's impossible until it isn't." The ship's lights flickered briefly, causing everyone on the bridge to freeze. Chief Engineer Kevin Porter's voice crackled over the comm system. "Commander, we're getting some unusual power fluctuations. Nothing dangerous yet, but our cores are acting up." Laura straightened her uniform. "Maintain our position." "Robert, start a full spectrum analysis." "Anna, I want you to check if there's any biological impact from whatever this is. The rest of you, standard protocols. We document everything." The next few hours passed in tense concentration. The crew worked efficiently, gathering data about the phenomenon that seemed to defy every law of physics they knew. The void, as they'd started calling it, appeared to be a region of space where reality itself grew thin. "Commander," Robert called out suddenly, his voice tight with excitement. "I think I've found something. The void. It's not empty. There's a pattern to it, a structure we couldn't see before." Laura moved to his station, followed by Anna. The screen showed a complex web of energy signatures, barely visible against the background noise of space. "What are we looking at?" Laura asked. "It's like..." Robert paused, searching for words. "Imagine reality as a piece of fabric. This void. It's not a hole in the fabric. It's more like a door, or maybe a window, and something on the other side is looking back at us." Anna shook her head. "That's not possible. The energy requirements for something like that would be infinite." Robert gestured at his readings. "Because that's exactly what we're seeing. Infinite energy, contained somehow in finite space." Laura felt a chill run down her spine. She'd led dozens of research missions, encountered phenomena that defied explanation, but something about this felt different. Important. like humanity was standing on the edge of a discovery that would change everything. "I want to send out a probe," she decided. "Something small, just to get better readings." "Commander," Anna protested, "the Centaurians specifically warned us about interfering with these kinds of anomalies." They said it was dangerous," Laura finished. "Everything worth discovering is dangerous. That's why we take precautions." The preparation for the probe launch took another hour. They used their smallest research drone, equipped with every sensor they could fit onto it. Laura watched from the bridge as the tiny machine moved toward the void, its signal strong and clear. "Probe approaching anomaly boundary," Robert reported. "All systems normal. Distance, 1,000 meters, 800, 600. The bridge crew held their breath. Even the ship's usual background hum seemed quieter. 400 meters, 300, 200. Probe is experiencing mild power fluctuations but holding steady. 100 meters. The probe's signal stuttered. 50 meters, 25, 10. The probe disappeared. Not gradually, not with any warning. One moment it was there, broadcasting data. The next, nothing. "Get it back," Laura ordered, keeping her voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. Robert's fingers flew over his controls. No response to recall signal. No emergency beacon. It's just gone. And then the void changed. The darkness that had seemed to swallow stars began to move. Not toward them, not exactly. It was more like it was unfolding, opening, like an eye opening after a long sleep. Ship alarms began blaring. "Energy spike," Robert shouted. "Off the charts. The void is." The rest of his words were lost as reality seemed to twist. Laura felt it first in her bones, a deep, resonating wrongness that made her teeth ache. Then she saw it happening to others. Anna stumbled, her hands glowing with a faint blue light. Robert gasped, his eyes reflecting impossible colors. "Everyone out," Laura commanded. "Emergency protocols. Seal the bridge." But it was too late. The void had noticed them, and now it was reaching back. The last thing Laura saw before losing consciousness was her own hand, transparent as glass, with something dark moving beneath her skin. Then the darkness took her, and the universe began to scream. In the depths of space, the UES Nightingale hung motionless, its hull gleaming in starlight. Inside, 30 of humanity's finest lay unconscious, their bodies beginning a transformation that would change the course of human history forever. The void had touched them, and through them, it would touch all of humanity. The Centaurians had been right to warn them. But they'd been wrong about one thing. The danger wasn't in disturbing the void. The danger was in what the void would make them become. Dr. Daniel Wright woke up in the medical bay of the UES Nightingale with a splitting headache and the strange feeling that his skin didn't fit quite right anymore. The lights above him seemed too bright, too colorful. He could see spectrums that shouldn't be visible to human eyes. "Try not to move too quickly," Susan Palmer's voice came from somewhere to his left. The chief medical officer sounded exhausted. "Everyone's experiencing unusual symptoms." Daniel turned his head slowly. The medical bay was full. Every bed held a crew member, and makeshift cots lined the walls. Some people were awake, staring at their hands or the ceiling with expressions of wonder and fear. Others were still unconscious. "Commander Mills?" he asked, his voice rough. "Still out," Susan replied, checking something on her tablet. She paused, frowning at the screen. "Your readings are... I don't even know how to interpret this anymore. Nothing makes sense." Daniel looked down at his hands and almost screamed. His skin was translucent, like fine glass, with dark patterns swirling underneath. As he watched, the patterns shifted, responding to his fear. "It's happening to all of us," Susan said quietly. "Different patterns, different changes, but everyone who was on the bridge when it reached out, we're all changing." The door to medical bay slid open, and Kevin Porter stumbled in. The chief engineer's eyes had changed. They were completely black now, with points of light in them like distant stars. "The engines," he gasped. "They're talking to me. I can feel them. They want to be better. They want to evolve." Susan helped him to a chair. "That's not possible, Kevin. Engines don't talk." "They do now," he insisted. "Ever since I woke up, I can feel them. Not just our engines. I can feel technology. It wants to grow, to change, like us." Daniel closed his eyes, trying to think clearly through the haze of new sensations. He was a quantum physicist. He dealt in mathematical certainties, in provable theories. But what was happening to them defied every law of physics he knew. A soft moan from across the room drew their attention. Commander Mills was waking up. Laura's transformation was perhaps the most striking of all. Her skin had taken on a subtle iridescence, like oil on water, and her eyes seemed to look through things rather than at them. "Report," she managed to say, her voice stronger than Daniel expected. 12 hours since contact with the void," Susan began, consulting her tablet. "All 30 crew members are showing signs of genetic and physical transformation. No fatalities, but—" She hesitated. "But," Laura prompted, "but we're not human anymore. At least, not entirely." Susan held up her own hand, which had developed a faint blue luminescence. "Our DNA is rewriting itself. Our cellular structure is changing, and everyone's showing different abilities that should be impossible." As if to demonstrate, Anna Clark chose that moment to phase straight through the wall. Everyone jumped. "Sorry," the xenobiologist said, looking embarrassed. "I'm still getting used to this. But Commander, you need to see this. We're getting transmissions from Earth." Laura stood carefully, testing her balance. "Show me." They gathered around the medical bay's main screen. The news feeds showed chaos. Across Earth and all human colonies, people were transforming. Not just the crew of the Nightingale. Everyone who had received their transmissions, everyone who had viewed their data, everyone who had even talked to someone who had viewed their data. The void's touch was spreading like a virus, but it wasn't killing anyone. It was changing them. "The Centaurians are panicking," Anna reported. "They're calling for a complete quarantine of all human space. The Galactic Council is holding an emergency session." "They're afraid of us," Daniel realized. "They knew this would happen. That's why they warned us away." Laura touched the screen, her iridescent fingers leaving trails of light. "Show me the scientific data. What exactly is happening to us?" Daniel pulled up his latest analysis. The void didn't just change our bodies. It changed the fundamental way we interact with reality. Each of us seems to be developing different abilities, but they all stem from the same source. We can manipulate quantum probability at will. "In simple terms," Susan added, seeing some confused faces, "we can bend reality. Some of us phase through solid matter. Others can communicate with machines. I've seen crew members teleport, create energy from nothing, even alter the flow of time in small areas." "We're not dying," Kevin said, his star-filled eyes gleaming. "We're becoming something new, something more." A sudden tremor ran through the ship. Kevin's eyes widened. "The engines," he whispered. "They're changing too. Everything we touch is starting to change." Laura straightened, her commander's training taking over despite the strange new reality they faced. "We need to understand what we're becoming. Daniel, Susan, I want you to document every change, every new ability. Kevin, work with the engines. See if you can control whatever's happening to them. Anna, monitor the alien reactions. We need to know what we're facing." "And what about Earth?" Anna asked. "The transformations are spreading faster than anyone can contain them." Laura was quiet for a moment, watching the patterns shift under her skin. "We caused this. Whatever we're becoming, we have a responsibility to help others through the change. We need to understand it, control it, and prove to the galaxy that we're not a threat." "Are we?" Daniel asked quietly. "Not a threat, I mean. Look at what we can do now. Look at what we're becoming. Maybe the aliens are right to be afraid. Fear of change is normal, Laura said. But change itself is neutral. It's what we do with it that matters. She turned to face her crew, her iridescent skin glowing softly. We're still us. We're still human, even if that word means something different now. And we're going to face this together. Another tremor ran through the ship, stronger this time. Through the medical bay's window, they could see parts of the Nightingale's hull shifting, evolving, becoming something new just like its crew. "Commander," Kevin called, his voice tense. "The engines aren't just talking anymore. They're singing." And he paused, listening to something only he could hear. "And they're saying we need to go back." "Back?" Laura asked. "Back where?" "To the void," Kevin whispered. "They say it's not finished with us yet. This is just the beginning." Laura looked at her transformed crew, at their changed bodies and impossible abilities, at the fear and wonder in their eyes. They had wanted to discover something new in the depths of space. Instead, they had become something new. And somewhere in the darkness ahead, the void was waiting for them to return. The universe had started screaming when humanity first touched the void. Soon, it would learn to scream louder. Because humanity wasn't just touched by the void anymore. They were becoming the void itself. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with panic. Hundreds of alien species gathered in the massive hall, their voices rising in fear and anger. On the main screen, images from Earth showed the spreading transformation. Humans with glowing skin, humans walking through walls, humans whose eyes held galaxies. Security Officer John Martinez watched from Earth's now empty delegation booth. The human representatives had been asked to leave, politely but firmly. Now he stood alone, his transformed body making the aliens nervous. Dark energy crackled across his skin like lightning. The Arxos ambassador, an ancient being that looked like a crystal tree, rose to speak. Its voice resonated through the chamber. "The humans have done the unthinkable," it announced. "They have awakened that which sleeps." The void touch spreads through their population like wildfire. "We must act now, or the infection will spread beyond their species." John stepped forward. "We're not infected. We're evolving. And we're still ourselves." The chamber erupted in shouts. The Arxos ambassador's crystals turned a deep red. "You are becoming abominations. Your species now violates the fundamental laws of reality. Already, we detect quantum disturbances spreading from Earth. The fabric of space-time itself protests your existence." Back on Earth, in the newly established Void Research Center, Catherine Turner was making discoveries that would have shocked even the Galactic Council. The former engineering specialist from the Nightingale now floated 3 feet off the ground, surrounded by holographic displays that she controlled with her thoughts. "The changes are accelerating," she told the emergency committee. "Every day, we discover new abilities. Some can create matter from nothing. Others can rewrite the laws of physics in small areas. A child in Nebraska accidentally created a tiny universe yesterday." The committee members, all showing their own void-touch changes, nodded grimly. General Richard Cooper, his skin now resembling polished bronze, leaned forward. "And the aliens? Any progress with their demands?" Catherine shook her head. "They want us to somehow reverse the changes. They don't understand. There's no going back. This isn't a disease to be cured. It's what we were always meant to become." In orbit above Earth, the UES Nightingale had changed as much as its crew. Its hull now rippled like liquid metal, expanding and contracting with its own rhythm. Commander Laura Mills stood on the bridge, which had evolved into something organic and alive, watching Earth's transformed cities glow with impossible colors. "Status report," she ordered. Robert Hayes, his transparent form glittering with cosmic energy, looked up from his station. "The void energy continues to spread. Current estimates suggest all of humanity will be transformed within a month. The ship," he paused, "the ship wants to tell you something." Laura nodded to Kevin Porter, who had become their primary link to the increasingly sentient vessel. Kevin's star-filled eyes unfocused slightly. She says the void is getting stronger. The more of us that change, the thinner the barriers between reality and void space become. We're becoming living bridges between dimensions. A flash of light interrupted them as Anna Clark teleported onto the bridge. Commander, we have a situation. The Centaurians have launched their fleet. They're saying it's just a precautionary measure, but they're preparing to quarantine our entire solar system. Laura finished. How many ships? Over 3,000. And the Arxos are sending their fleet too. They're calling it a containment action. Laura felt the ship's concern through the living metal under her feet. The Nightingale had grown powerful during its transformation, but even it couldn't fight off two of the galaxy's strongest fleets. Back at the Galactic Council, John Martinez watched as species after species voted to support the quarantine. Only a few of the younger races abstained. None voted in humanity's favor. You don't understand what you're dealing with, the Arxos ambassador told him privately after the vote. Our oldest records speak of the void touched. They were ancient when my species was young. They reshaped reality to their will, and the universe screamed in pain at their power. What happened to them? John asked. They vanished. Some say they transcended reality itself. Others believe they destroyed themselves. But they left warnings. Warnings your species ignored. We're not them, John insisted. We're still human. The ambassador's crystals pulsed sadly. Are you? Look at yourself, John Martinez. Look at what you're becoming. Your species is changing into something that should not exist in this reality. And you're changing everything around you too. It was true. The void touch didn't just affect humans. It changed everything they interacted with. Buildings where transformed humans lived began to shift and flow like living things. Technology evolved beyond its original purpose. Even plants and animals showed strange mutations after prolonged exposure to void-touch humans. Catherine's research had shown that the changes followed patterns like a cosmic code being rewritten. Each transformed human developed unique abilities, but they all stemmed from the same source: the ability to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. In her lab, Catherine studied a group of newly transformed children. They played with bubbles of pure spacetime, giggling as they twisted reality into new shapes. They don't feel wrong, she told her assistant. They feel more real than we ever did before. The assistant, whose body had become a swirling cloud of quantum particles, made a sound of agreement. Maybe that's what scares the aliens. We're becoming more real than reality itself. On the Nightingale's bridge, Laura made a decision. We won't fight them, she announced to her crew. If we fight, we prove their fears right. We need to show them that we're not a threat. And if they attack anyway? Robert asked. Then we'll show them something else. Laura's iridescent skin pulsed with power. We'll show them what humanity has become. Not through violence, but through transcendence. The ship hummed in agreement, its evolved systems resonating with her words. Through their shared connection, Kevin heard its suggestion. The ship says we need to go back to the void, he reported. All of us. Every transformed human. It says. He hesitated, his star-filled eyes widening. It says we need to complete the change. Laura looked out at Earth, at the approaching alien fleets, at the universe that feared what humanity was becoming. The void had touched them, changed them, made them into something new. But it wasn't finished. The real transformation was just beginning. And the universe hadn't even begun to scream. Admiral Peter Collins stood in Earth's main defense command center, watching as thousands of alien ships filled the holographic display. His transformed body cast shadows that moved in the wrong direction, and his voice echoed with strange harmonics as he spoke. They're surrounding the entire solar system, he said. 3,000 Centaurian ships, 2,000 Arxos vessels, and more arriving every hour. Around him, the command center had evolved like everything else the void-touched humans interacted with. The walls pulsed with living metal, and the computers had grown into organic crystals that merged with their operators. "Sir," a lieutenant called out, her hair floating in an invisible wind, "we're receiving a transmission from the Arxos flagship." The main screen lit up, showing the crystalline form of the Arxos High Commander. Its voice rang through the chamber like breaking glass. "This is your final warning," it announced. "Contain your population. Stop the spread of the Void Touch, or we will be forced to take action." Admiral Collins kept his voice calm. "And how exactly do you suggest we contain something that spreads through information itself? The Void Touch passes through communications, through memories, through simple human contact. It's not a disease. It's evolution. It is an abomination." The Arxos commander's crystals flashed red. "Your species is becoming something that should not exist. Already, your transformed populations are causing ripples in reality. Space-time distortions spread from your worlds like waves. The universe itself rejects what you are becoming." On the UES Nightingale, Commander Laura Mills received the transmission with a grim expression. Her ship had evolved even further, its hull now a swirling mass of impossible geometries that hurt unaltered eyes to look at. "They're afraid," Robert Hayes observed, his transparent form shimmering with cosmic energy. "Not just of what we are, but of what we're becoming." "Fear makes them dangerous," Laura replied. She turned to Kevin Porter, whose star-filled eyes were focused on something only he could see. "What does the ship say?" Kevin's voice came as if from a great distance. "The Nightingale says the void is calling stronger now. All the transformed humans can feel it. We need to answer before it's too late." Back on Earth, Catherine Turner made a breakthrough in her research. The quantum patterns in transformed humans had started forming larger structures, connecting across vast distances. Every void-touched human was becoming part of something bigger. "Look at this," she told her team, projecting a hologram of the energy patterns. "We're not just changing individually, we're changing together, forming a network that exists outside normal spacetime." One of her researchers, Alan Parker, nodded in understanding. His body had become a living prism, refracting light into colors that had never existed before, like a new nervous system for reality itself. "Exactly," Catherine said. "And it's growing stronger. Every new transformation adds to the network we're becoming." She trailed off as a new sensation washed over her. Around the room, every transformed human felt it too. A calling, a pull from the void that had changed them. In the Galactic Council chamber, John Martinez felt the same call. He watched as the alien representatives backed away from him, their fear obvious as dark energy crackled across his skin with new intensity. "What's happening to him?" a Centaurian delegate whispered. The Arxos ambassador's crystals paled. "They're resonating, all of them. Every void-touched human in the galaxy is resonating with something. Something old, something that should have stayed sleeping." In orbit, the alien fleets detected massive energy spikes from Earth and all human colonies. Every transformed human was emanating waves of void energy that rippled through spacetime. Admiral Collins felt the call too. He looked at his command staff and saw the same knowledge in their transformed eyes. "Send word to all ships, all colonies, all transformed humans," he ordered. "Tell them to prepare." "Prepare for what, sir?" the lieutenant asked, though she already knew the answer. "For the next step." On the Nightingale, Laura received the reports from Earth. The ship's evolved sensors showed her something the aliens couldn't see: patterns of void energy connecting all transformed humans into a vast, impossible network. "They're going to attack," Anna Clark said, appearing on the bridge in a flash of quantum displacement. "The alien fleets are moving into attack formation." Laura nodded. They feel it too. They know something big is coming, and they're terrified. She turned to her crew. "Signal all human ships. We're not fighting back." "Commander," Robert asked. "We're not fighting back because we don't need to," Laura explained. "The void didn't change us so we could fight. It changed us so we could transcend." The alien fleets opened fire, Beams of energy and exotic particles streaked toward Earth and its colonies. But something impossible happened. Reality bent. Every void-touched human felt it. A sudden expansion of their abilities, a connection to something vast and ancient and powerful. The attacks from the alien fleets simply ceased to exist. Not blocked, not absorbed, but retroactively erased from reality itself. In the Defense Command Center, Admiral Collins watched as his transformed staff manipulated reality without effort. "Send word to all human populations," he ordered. "It's time." We answered the Void's call. Catherine's research center reported massive quantum fluctuations. "The network is activating," she announced to anyone who could still hear her through the quantum static. "We're all connecting to something bigger than all of us." The Arxos ambassador watched in horror as John Martinez's form began to shift and change, becoming something that shouldn't be possible in normal space. "What are you becoming?" it whispered. John smiled, his form rippling with void energy. "Something new," he said. "Something wonderful. Something that was always meant to be." On the Nightingale's bridge, Laura felt the change coming. The ship's evolved systems sang with power as reality itself prepared to transform. "The void isn't our enemy," she told her crew as space began to warp around them. "It's not our destroyer. It's our destiny." The universe began to scream. But this time, the scream wasn't of horror. It was of birth. Lead researcher Michelle Adams opened her eyes to a world that had changed completely. The research facility around her had transformed into something that defied normal geometry. The walls breathed with living metal, and windows looked out onto dimensions that shouldn't exist. Her own transformation had reached a new stage. Her body was now a shifting pattern of light and shadow, more energy than matter. Around her, other scientists floated in similar states of transcendence. "The readings are off the charts," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made reality ripple. "The network connecting all void-touched humans is growing stronger. We're becoming something unified." In orbit, the alien fleets hung motionless, their weapons still aimed at Earth, but no longer firing. Their sensors couldn't process what they were seeing. The planet below was changing, its very substance beginning to shift and flow like liquid reality. Captain Frank Reynolds stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Horizon, watching Earth's transformation through eyes that could now see across multiple dimensions. Half his crew had already answered the Void's call, their bodies becoming pure energy. The other half were close behind. "Sir," his communications officer called out, her voice echoing strangely as her body flickered between states of matter. "We're getting signals from every human settlement in the galaxy. It's happening everywhere. All at once." Frank nodded. He could feel it himself. The pull of something vast and ancient, calling all transformed humans toward their next evolution. The void that had changed them was calling them home. On the Nightingale, Commander Laura Mills received the reports with a sense of growing wonder. Her ship had become something beyond technology, its systems merging with the crew in ways that defied understanding. "The Arxos were right about one thing," she told her crew. "The void-touched did exist before, but they didn't vanish or destroy themselves." She gestured at the swirling patterns of energy that used to be her hand. "They evolved. And now it's our turn." In the Galactic Council chamber, John Martinez watched as the alien representatives huddled in fear. His body now existed in multiple dimensions at once, casting shadows into realities that had never seen light. The Arxos ambassador approached him, its crystalline form trembling. "What is happening to your species?" "We're remembering," John said simply. "The void didn't change us. It woke us up. Humanity was always meant for this. We just didn't know it until now." Back on Earth, Catherine Turner's research team made their final discovery. The quantum patterns connecting all void-touched humans weren't just a network. They were a key to unlock something that had been sleeping in humanity's DNA since the beginning. "Look at this," she told Admiral Collins, projecting a complex pattern of energy into the air. These aren't mutations, they're activations. The void is turning on parts of us that were always there, just waiting for the right moment. The Admiral, his form now a swirling galaxy of light, studied the pattern. How long? How long have we carried this potential? Since the beginning, Catherine said. Since the first humans looked up at the stars and dreamed. We were never meant to just explore space. We were meant to become it. In her lab, Michelle Adams watched as the last of her human form dissolved into pure energy. The change didn't hurt. If anything, it felt like waking up from a long dream. The void isn't empty, she told her team as they underwent their own final transformations. It's the space between spaces, the reality behind reality. And we're not becoming monsters or abominations. We're becoming what reality needs us to be. The alien fleets received new readings from their sensors. Every transformed human was now emanating waves of pure void energy. The waves didn't destroy or damage. They changed. Everything they touched began to evolve, to wake up, to remember. Captain Frank Reynolds felt the change complete itself in his crew. One by one, they transformed fully, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. The ship around them changed too, becoming a living extension of their transformed consciousness. We understand now, he said, his voice reaching across dimensions. The universe isn't screaming in pain. It's screaming in joy. Reality itself is waking up, and we're helping it happen. The Arxos ambassador watched in awe as John Martinez completed his transformation. Where a human had stood, there was now a being of pure light and void, existing in multiple dimensions at once. You were right to fear us, John told the ambassador, but not because we're dangerous. Because we're change itself, and change is always frightening until you understand it. On the Nightingale, Laura felt the final transformation begin. Her crew, her ship, and she herself were becoming something beyond physical form. The void energy patterns connected them all into a vast network of consciousness that spanned galaxies. We're ready, she said, her voice reaching every transformed human across space. The void showed us what we could become. Now it's time to take the final step. Earth glowed with impossible light as millions of transformed humans completed their evolution. The alien fleets watched in wonder as humanity transcended its physical form, becoming beings of pure energy and consciousness. They weren't leaving reality. They were becoming its guardians. The void had changed them so they could change everything else, helping the universe itself evolve into something new and wonderful. The universe screamed one final time. But this scream was different. It was a scream of transformation, of evolution, of becoming. Humanity had touched the void, and the void had touched back. Together, they would help reality itself wake up and remember what it was meant to be. The change was complete, and it was only the beginning. Communications Officer Linda Harrison floated in the space between spaces, her transformed consciousness extending across multiple dimensions. Around her, Earth had become something beyond physical reality, a nexus point of pure energy and awakened potential. The alien fleets hung motionless in orbit, their crews watching in awe as humanity completed its transformation. Where there had once been billions of humans, there were now beings of pure light and void energy, their consciousness linked in a vast network that spanned the galaxy. They're singing, Linda realized, her awareness touching the fabric of reality itself. The universe isn't screaming anymore, it's singing. Dr. Paul Bennett, once a quantum physicist and now a being of pure energy, studied the patterns of the transformation. Through his expanded consciousness, he could see the truth that had been hidden for so long. We were never just another species, he shared across the network that connected all transformed humans. We were seeds, planted in physical form, waiting to grow into something more. The void didn't change us. It helped us remember what we already were. On the evolved form of the UES Nightingale, Commander Laura Mills existed as a pattern of pure consciousness. Her crew had transcended with her, becoming beings that could shape reality with a thought. The ship itself had become a living extension of their collective will. The aliens were right about the void touched. She communicated to the vast network of transformed humanity. They did exist before. They were the first wave, the ones who came before, and now were joining them. In what had once been the Galactic Council chamber, John Martinez's transformed consciousness interfaced directly with the alien representatives. His form shifted between dimensions as he shared the truth with them. Reality isn't just what you can see or measure, he explained, his thoughts creating patterns of light that told the story. It's alive, conscious, and it needs guardians to help it grow, to help it evolve. That's what we've become. The Arxos ambassador's crystalline form resonated with new understanding. You are not abominations, it realized. You are catalysts. Yes, John agreed. The universe isn't fighting our transformation, it's embracing it. Every scream was a note in a larger song. Catherine Turner, her consciousness now spread across multiple research facilities, made the final connections. The patterns of void energy weren't just changing humans, they were changing reality itself, awakening it, teaching it to remember. Look, she shared across the network, projecting her understanding to all transformed humans. Every galaxy, every star, every atom. They're all part of one vast consciousness, and we're helping it wake up. Admiral Collins, his form now a constellation of pure thought, coordinated with the transformed fleet. Human ships had evolved into living vessels of pure energy, capable of traveling through dimensions that had no names. We're receiving signals, he announced to the network, not from space, from beyond it. The others are calling us. The others, the original void-touched, the first wave of reality's guardians. Their consciousness reached across dimensional barriers, welcoming humanity to its new state of being. Frank Reynolds, his captain's consciousness expanded across his evolved ship, felt the call. They'd been waiting for us, he shared, waiting for us to wake up, to remember, to join them. Laura Mills gathered her crew's consciousness together, preparing for the next step. The nightingale hummed with power as reality itself bent around them. We have a choice, she told humanity's vast network. We can stay as we are, guardians of this reality, or we can answer their call, join the others, and help wake up every reality. Linda Harrison felt the resonance of every transformed human as they made their choice. There was no debate, no hesitation. They had evolved beyond such limitations. We go together, she shared, her consciousness touching all of humanity's network. We wake everything up, help everything remember. Paul Bennett's expanded awareness calculated the implications. The void isn't empty, he realized. It's the space where new realities are born, and we're going to help birth them. The aliens watched in wonder as humanity made its choice. Every transformed human, every evolved ship, every changed particle of their existence began to shift. Not leaving, not ending, expanding. The universe sang louder as humanity embraced its new purpose. Reality itself seemed to celebrate as its children, its guardians, its catalysts took their place in the greater consciousness. We are not your end, John Martinez told the aliens as humanity began its final transformation. We are everyone's beginning. Catherine's research had shown the truth. This wasn't an ending. It wasn't even really a change. It was an awakening, a remembering, a return to what everything was always meant to be. Laura felt the pull of other dimensions, other realities, all waiting to be awakened. We were never meant to just explore space, she shared with her crew, with all of humanity. We were meant to help it dream. And so humanity transcended, not into monsters, not into abominations, into guardians, into catalysts, into the force that would help reality itself evolve and grow and remember. The universe's screams became songs. The void's touch became an embrace. And humanity, transformed and awakened, spread across dimensions to help everything else remember what it was meant to be. They had become what they were always meant to be. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but awakeners. The void-touched abominations that made the universe scream had become the guardians that helped it sing. And somewhere, in the space between spaces, reality smiled and remembered how to dream.